we're going to bring Tracey Horton back to the stage, and Tracey's topic is
Understanding Creation's Groaning.
Okay. Thank you. I am an incredible believer in nothing happens by chance. So I started this morning and I opened with a certain message, but to be honest with you, since I spoke this morning to now, I've changed. I've heard things, I've sat in this beautiful space and I've had things occur. So I just want to change not what I'm going to say, but how I'm going to say it. And so I want to start today by telling you my story to help you to understand why I'm so passionate about helping people to be transformed in their mind. In the early 60s, I was born in New Zealand to two parents. One was a schizophrenic with 5 personalities and one was a drunk. So to say that my life had any location in normal would have been a huge exaggeration. I had no idea how other people lived. By the time I was 12 years of age, I had been sexually, mentally, and physically abused by 12 different men. I had no concept of support. I was 12 years of age. I didn't believe that I mattered. I didn't believe that I had a purpose in life. And I had no idea how to do that. You know, when you're under 7 years of age, most of your belief systems are actually located in your parents' teaching. And it's up to you to actually transform those. But if you don't know that, if you don't know at 12 years of age you have no value, you don't know where to begin. So by the time I was 18 years of age, my boss caught me drinking at work because I drank all the time. And he sent me to a psychologist. And I spent an hour with the psychologist and he asked me some questions. He was obviously good at his job because for the first time in my life, I told my story. And I told about the things that had happened to me as a child. And I will never forget the moment that he put his pen and paper down and he looked at me and he said to me, "I can't help you." He said, "You will need to be medicated and you'll probably be dead by 30. He said, "You can't get over this." And when I tell that story now in 2020, everyone in the room gasps, thinking, how could somebody be so uninformed and so unenlightened? But to be honest with you, he saved my life because he spoke to the person that was in the room. And I really was that person and I really was on that trajectory. And I stepped out of that room and I made a decision to spend 5 years finding answers or I was going to take my life. I was definitely not going to be a 30-year-old on medication, sitting somewhere not contributing. I lived with that in the form of my mum and I wasn't having it. And over those 5 years, I discovered some really big keys. And one of the things I discovered was to never allow someone else to write my story. The day I realized that I could take the pen back and make my story be whatever I wanted it to be was one of the most freeing days of my life. And through doing that, I discovered that I lived on a planet. I lived amongst a creation that was supportive of me, that held everything I needed to be all I could be. And for some people, that's a really head concept. But for me, it was a heart concept because I had never entered my mind that I could be anything. I'd never stopped to think that I could be anything incredible because nobody had ever placed any value on me. So to wake up one day and have the education that creation valued me, that every morning at the beginning of time, creation paused and held for me everything I needed for that day to define that day into being the best version of it for me. that when I needed love, it would provide love. When I needed finance, it would provide finance. When I needed structure, it would provide structure. That is an extremely beautiful gift to a woman who cried herself to sleep for 18 years of her life. I can't remember going to bed any age as a child that I wasn't sad and broken. So when you have that, and then you know you can get that, the reason I'm passionate, the reason I work with people around getting over trauma, allowing trauma to go and not being defined by it, is because of one thing and one thing only. You can do it. And I don't share my story a lot because when I do, I find that people sit in the space going, what a hero. And I find that that is a real abdicating thought for people to not take it on board and do it themselves, because I'm actually a really basic human. There is nothing majestic or incredible about me. I just was determined. If I could be honest with you, I just had to do it. And you know, we've heard stories today about people that had to find the cure for cancer. We've heard stories today about men that have had to find their answers in nature and in mind therapy. We've heard stories today of a beautiful woman who had to start a crystal business because it came to her. And when you have that had moment, when you have to do something just for you, it's a very freeing thing. But I found out you actually discover the true depth of it because you need it. And so all around the world, I wrote a book called The Unhappy Smile About My Life, and I've been traveling around the world for 4 years just teaching on this principle. Because here's the thing, creation holds itself as a woman in childbirth. And I personally love that concept because I've had 4 daughters. And I've now got 9 grandchildren, and I've been very blessed to be present at some of those births. And I can tell you that as a woman bears down to actually birth something, she is so ready to give it up. She is so ready to release it. She is so happy for it to come out in any way, shape, or form. In those last 20 minutes, she doesn't care if it's male or female. She doesn't care if it's black, white, or brown. She doesn't care if it's hairless or covered in hair. She is just ready to release. And when we can understand that every single morning, creation is like that for you. It doesn't care how you wake up. It doesn't care what you believe. It's childbirthing everything you need in life, whether you want it or not. So my question is, why wouldn't you want it? Why wouldn't you want it? I am so grateful that I've allowed myself to stay mindful of where I've come from, because it enables me to stay really grateful every day for everything that comes to me. And I do not live in my trauma or hold any space for that at all. I'm 33 years into a great marriage. I've raised 4 kick-ass girls. I'm raising 9 grandchildren. I have got great relationships with my son-in-laws. I am the go-to girl for getting over stuff. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I love this. And it's a great example of what I'm teaching. On the 20th of March this year, Jupiter and Mars aligned. And when you can understand that, and I have to read this, please forgive me, that Mars is the planet for desire, action, energy, and the survival of humanity. Jamie Herbert, Mars is your planet. And Jupiter is the planet of wealth, positivity, and feelings of mercy. They aligned. They aligned to within 1 degree of each other. And at that moment, because it took them 4 hours to do it, at that moment, on the celestial longitude where they were sitting in frequency, scientists in about 7 different countries heard what they only could describe as applause. Like, just, can you just sit with me for 5 seconds and just realize how gorgeous it is that creation is applauding as you wake up? That every morning you wake up, all of creation is going, wow, wow, now they're awake. Now they're awake. Now they're awake, I can give them everything they want. I don't think I could ever tire of that when I spent so many years of my life waking afraid of what would happen to me next. I never woke to breakfast. I never woke to joy. I never woke to parents that cared. My parents were always sleeping off the night before. And so, you know, when I wake up every morning now and I ground myself just before pre-dawn at around 4 a.m., I'm just so mindful of that beautiful gift. And I have not yet found a human that does not want to be everything they can be. So if you wanted to be everything you could be, would you not engage the most supportive structure that you have, which is earth, which is creation? If you wanted to be everything you could be, forget the libraries and forget all the education. And I've got that in truckloads, because when you're searching for who you are, we all know we go down 100 different rabbit holes. But when we can understand that we're on a planet that is fully supportive, is that just not the most incredible moment? Is that not just the most incredible moment? I want to change what I'm about to say now from the first one, and I want to give you 3 keys to being fully free in who you are. And the first one is to never, ever let someone else write your story. I am not the plot line for 12 different men. I am my own story. And what I find with people is that when they go through something that hurts them, when we get hurt, we put a full stop. Tracey was sexually abused by 12 different men under 12, full stop. And when you put a full stop, it becomes a sentence, an exclamation, a point. But I always teach my clients to put a comma and add the word but. So Tracey was the victim of 12 very rude, harsh, nasty men, but she didn't stop there. She didn't end there. She didn't make that the point. She went on. She grew up. She took over that pen. She took that pen out of their hands. I came across one of the guys about 5 years after that. So it was probably 17 or 18. You know what amazed me was I realized he didn't give me a minute's thought. I'd sat wound up about all the stuff I carried, and none of them were thinking about me. And that day when I took the pen back and said, you know what, none of them are ever going to be part of my story. I'm writing it. And I picked that pen up at 4 a.m. every morning and I decide how it writes. And this year, it's had big plot lines for me. This year, it's had to involve a daughter who is going through cancer. And I had to write one morning that I'm about to get so educated about all that creation has to heal this thing like never before. Some days it's hard to write your own story, but you still have to. You can never abdicate that. And the second point I want to make is that you owe it to yourself to do it, because never, ever, ever is there going to be another person just like you. Never. My grandfather's an identical twin. My second daughter was an identical twin. I lost her just before, halfway through the pregnancy, but I can tell you now, not even identical twins are identical. They're not. I don't even know why we call them identical twins. Because if there's only one of you, if creation only created you once, isn't there something really important you should be doing? When I married Paul, he had this ring made for me, and we had it made for a lot of different reasons, but it's a one of a kind. So should I lose that today, the cost would be irrelevant, the sentiment would be valuable. And sometimes I think we need to place that on ourselves. Forget about what it costs for you to be everything you are. Forget about if you have to buy $1,000 worth of crystals, or go to $1,000 worth of mentoring, or go and sit at a beach somewhere and be alone, or buy land, or do whatever it is. Forget about the cost. Isn't the sentiment of the fact that you're a one-off creation more important than all that? Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to miss what you've got. Because if I miss that, I'm never going to get it from someone else. I don't take for granted today the presence in this room and the people I'm sitting with, because they are very unique people and they're giving me stuff I wouldn't get from anyone else. I'm in the presence of unique beings. And when you understand that, you actually take it out of ego. You take it out of ego of having to perform, and you go beautifully into, you know what, there's just a reason for me to be here. There's just a reason for me to be here. I spoke in Ghana to a parliamentarian about how to change the laws because it's not legal to hurt women in Ghana. There's a reason for me to be here. I don't want my story, and whenever I share it, it will always cost me something, but I have that story. That's who I am. I can't change it for any of you. I can't excuse it, but I can sure as hell make sure it ends up being something far more than that stupid story. Right? And the third thing is, I don't understand, and I have people come to me all the time, and during COVID, the interesting thing is since March, I would have had 30, literally 30 millennials come to me with anxiety and depression, wanting help because they can't deal with the shutdown, because they're losing connection the only way they know. And I've been teaching them how to connect without this connection, right? So here's the thing. We have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to do something. And the third point I want to make is that if you have this life, whether you think you're coming back 20 times, you think you're coming once, whatever you believe, why not enjoy this moment? Because if we could just be a little bit more focused on time, we don't have it for very long. I can remember giving birth to my eldest daughter when I was 25, and my mother saying to me, she is going to grow up so fast you won't believe it. And last January she turned 30, and I thought, my God, where's the time gone? Where's the time gone? I'm a grandmother. Where has the time gone? I've been married to my husband for 33 years and it feels like 5 minutes. All of a sudden we're looking at ourselves thinking, we're starting to look like our parents. When did that happen? Because time is like that. So you know what? Make sure you live your day and enjoy your day. 3 years ago, my husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer and given 6 months to live. And we didn't know stuff. We weren't as awake as you guys. We were the typical normal people. And we went to the hospital and they gave us chemotherapy. Within 4 tablets, because they were chemotherapy tablets, it cost me $495 for 10 tablets. 4 tablets, 4 days. He had arthritis and couldn't close his hands. On the 4th morning when we woke up, he had a mild heart attack on me and we got sent to hospital. During the time we were in hospital, while they stabilised him, they said to us, it's a shame he's got the side effects. I said, what are you talking about, side effects? Do you know what the third side effect was? For a man who had presented, in their words, not ours, with terminal prostate cancer, breast cancer. 100,000% chance higher of getting breast cancer. I got so angry and I just decided to change it. And we went through a massive change. I sent him to Bali for 31 days to sleep on the beach and fast. And we did everything we could get our hands on, everything we learned to do. But I will tell you one thing. We were grateful for this one thing. We never had any regrets. Had I lost him, because I needed to detach and allow him to do whatever he needed, because it was about to rock my world if he went. But when I detached, I realised that even if he went, we never had one regret, because we had determined to live the life we wanted. When we wanted to go camping, we did. When we wanted to travel, we did. When we wanted to eat pasta, we did. When we wanted to make the kids have ice cream first and their vegetables last, we did. When we had the children we wanted. We bought the cars we wanted. We bought the houses we wanted. We owned at times. We rented at times. We travelled at times. And if I could say anything to anybody, you do not realise how good it is for your psyche to live in a space where you are loving your life every minute of the day. And anything you don't love, just change, because you are for sure worth more. Thanks. You too.
Me too.
We all love you.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.